Hallo, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estás? My name is Karel van Wyk. It's a very Afrikaans name, as I'm from South Africa. I am an electronic engineer, a coder, and an entrepreneur. I like to build things. I like to build products and companies. And I've been building stuff in the Bitcoin space for over 10 years now. So for me to come to El Salvador, the first country to accept Bitcoin as legal tender, as money, it's a bit like a pilgrimage. When I saw the title of the conference, Crossing the Chasm, I felt like I needed to be here and to come share with you some of the great things that we're building in South Africa, because we're building amazing things. And I've got a really cool story to share with you. There's some stuff we did across the Atlantic, cross-Atlantic building. And then just talk a little bit about what the future looks like for us. Because even though the present is great, the future might not look as bright as things are now. So something about my country. Like El Salvador, we deal with poverty. We're a country divided. I think the Times Magazine at some point called us the most unequal country in the world. But unlike Salvador, we don't have a champion, a president like Bukele that is a visionary, that can solve our problems with crime and violence and can address the economic issues with something like Bitcoin. And so the people of South Africa, we've realized growing up that we need to take the future into our own hands and that we need to build a plan B. So for me, that plan's always been Bitcoin. And so I founded this company, this project, Money Badger. And the mission of Money Badger, the goal and the purpose of Money Badger is to prove that Bitcoin is money, that it can be used as money and applied to serve your day-to-day needs for payments and remittances. And it's as much a company as it is a charity. It's a labor of love, really. The Money Badger is obviously, it's like a honey badger with a bit of lightning in its tail. And we picked the honey badger as our mascot because it's a uniquely African animal, and it expresses the values that we also care about. A honey badger expresses the properties of tenacity, determinateness, ingenuity, and fearlessness. And so we've been working really, really hard to drive Bitcoin adoption in South Africa. And one of the things that we did that made a big impact and really moved the needle is that we added Lightning payments for one of the biggest retailers in the country, Pick n Pay. So Pick n Pay is like the Walmart of South Africa, if you can imagine. And we've been working on this project for a long time. We've actually started in 2017. We did on-chain payments for Pick n Pay, and it didn't work. The reason it didn't work is pretty obvious. On-chain payments are slow, they're expensive. And then we left it for a while. And then some smart people built something called the Lightning Network. And then Lightning solved all of these problems. Lightning was fast, Lightning was cheap. It worked really well. I mean, I'm using Lightning here on a day-to-day basis. I was in Berlin, the little road trip from Berlin to El Sante, and it just blows my mind that I can pay with Bitcoin everywhere, and we can use Lightning. And so the thing about Pick n Pay is that, like these shops in El Salvador that accepts Bitcoin, Pick n Pay also lets you live your life on a Bitcoin standard, because not only do they sell groceries and food, they also sell things like clothing. You can buy airtime, electricity, you can pay your municipal bills. So basically they offer a lot of services. You can even buy travel tickets. They've got locations in practically every town in South Africa, so they've got wide distribution. And the reason that they did this, people ask me, oh, how did you Orange Pill Pick n Pay? But I didn't Orange Pill Pick n Pay. They came to me. The reason that they did this, why did they add Bitcoin payments, is that they said, we want to serve our customers better. I guess it's like Bukele that said, you know what, I want to give people the option of using this technology, and Pick n Pay said, we want to give people the ability to spend Bitcoin at our store. We want the bragging rights. We want to be the first major retailer in Africa that accepts Bitcoin. They put that challenge to themselves, and they made it happen. And it works phenomenally well. It works really well. Now, there's a couple of reasons why establishing this beachhead in South Africa is important. One of the most important reasons is because there's a lot of misconceptions about Bitcoin and Bitcoin payments. People think that Bitcoin payments are expensive, that they're slow, that it's technically difficult. People think that nobody's going to spend their Bitcoin. I mean, if people are going to spend crypto, it's going to be what? Stables, USDT, all of that stuff. The government doesn't believe Bitcoin is money. 2 years ago, our Reserve Bank, or the central bank, issued a statement, and they said, we don't believe Bitcoin is a currency because you can't simply walk into a shop and buy something with it. Instead, our view is that it is an asset, and we will regulate it as a form of investment. And yet, very soon after that, we launched the Pick n Pay integration, and we proved them wrong. So we've already proven the regulators wrong on this. What's happening there, that is a small child from the Bitcoin Ikazi project. Ikazi is a circular economy in South Africa in a town called Mossel Bay. One of the founders, Herman, is here as well. He's going to be speaking on a panel. And this little kid took a Lightning wallet. She walked into a Pick n Pay, and she purchased a single little loaf of bread, all on her own. If she can do it, anybody can do it. Another misconception, like I said, is that people will only spend stables. This is the breakdown of the payments that we process. Now, I know what you're asking, like, why are you processing dollars, Ripple, Ethereum, so all of that nonsense? But what we've done is that we've added support not only for Lightning payments, but also for the major wallet providers in South Africa. So these are Luno, Valar, and Binance. You've probably heard of one or all of these. And via those wallets, their users can pay with any of their balances. But as for Lightning, obviously it's only Bitcoin. And as you can see, the vast majority of payments that Pick n Pay is receiving is in Bitcoin. And I think that's incredibly inspiring. Another reason why this Pick n Pay thing is important is because it supports the establishment and growth of circular economies and communities in South Africa, like Bitcoin Ikazi, like Bitcoin Witshand, and many more. Why is that? If you start a community center and you start expanding into the community and onboarding shops and merchants, it's very hard sell to say, oh, you need to start accepting this magic internet currency. And they ask you, okay, where can I use it? How does it work? And they don't have a good answer. But if you can tell them, listen, that very big supermarket on the corner there accepts Bitcoin. Why don't you accept it yet? That's an easier sell. Or, you know, if you're earning it, you don't have to worry about not being able to use it. You can go to Pick n Pay, you can restock. Bitcoin Ikazi uses Lightning at Pick n Pay to buy stationery and food and other supplies for their community center. And so it just helps to establish these communities and these centers and change the minds of the merchants to start accepting it. But there's one last barrier. So we've solved the issue of slow payments. We've solved the issue of expensive fees with Lightning. But there's a problem when it comes to the QR code. Now, when I was here, or when I'm walking around here, I'm scanning a Lightning invoice, right? You take out your Blink wallet, I'm scanning it, and my Lightning wallet can understand it. But with Pick n Pay, they only generate a Pick n Pay QR code. And any wallet that wants to pay Pick n Pay needs to be able to understand and read that code, and it's not a Lightning code. So what does that mean? Well, there's a bunch of other South African QR payment apps. It's not only crypto payment apps. There's like all kinds of fiat-based QR payment apps. And Pick n Pay said, if you want to pay with us, you implement that QR code format. All of those wallets, being South African, did so, and then they can scan and pay the code directly. But why would a wallet like Blink, that's being developed in El Salvador, add support for this Pick n Pay thing? It doesn't make sense. So how did we solve this problem? At the bottom, those are the icons of Luno and Valar. Those are the local South African crypto wallet providers. And for them, we gave them an API. So they can scan a code, the Pick n Pay code, and their wallets can understand the code directly. But for Lightning wallets, we've introduced a translator app. So I'm walking around here in El Salvador. English is my second language. Spanish, no bueno, okay? So I'm taking my phone out and I'm opening up Google Translate and I'm sticking it into people's faces. And I'm like, can you please speak? And then they talk and it translates it and I can understand what they're saying. So the same principle applies. We introduced this app called Crypto QR. It's a translator. When you get to the point of sale, the cashiers rung up all your goods. You scan with Crypto QR, not with a Lightning wallet. You scan with Crypto QR, and then that thing translates the Pick n Pay QR into a Lightning invoice, and you can pay the Lightning invoice. So it works. It's nice, it's seamless, but you need two apps, and people don't want to install two apps. They want to use one app. And so we had this challenge, and we asked ourselves, how do we get the Lightning wallets to understand the Pick n Pay QR codes directly? Is it possible to solve it? So applying for speaking at this conference, I was speaking to Kamal. So as you know, Galloway is an organizer of this event, and they published the Blink wallet. And I said, what do you think about this problem? Do you think it's something that we could solve potentially? And he said, well, let's talk to one of our developers, Juan. He's from Colombia. So he's across the Atlantic Ocean from me. I'm sitting in South Africa, and we're talking, other side of the world. And Juan says, yes, I've got a solution to your problem. I'm like, what? No ways. I've been trying to solve this for a year. I'm a smart guy. I don't believe it's solvable. He's like, no, I've been thinking about this from Blink's perspective. We have a similar problem scanning proprietary merchant QR codes. And I think we can build something into Blink to scan a Pick n Pay QR code. So I'm like, okay, let me hear it. What's your plan? He says, do you know what's a pay code? A Lightning address. That's my pay code, capeleopard@blink.sv. It looks like an email address. So what does that mean? It means you can send Lightning directly to somebody, to their address. You don't need a Lightning invoice first, right? So he says, all you need to do is Money Badger needs to create a pay code for every single Pick n Pay QR code. Every time a QR code is generated, you create a pay code. And then if you pay that pay code, the transaction will be completed. Why? Because Lightning wallets, any Lightning wallets, whether it's custodial or non-custodial, knows and understands how to pay to a pay code. So I'm like, okay, how do we do this? How do we get from a Pick n Pay QR code to a Lightning pay code? And then this guy blew my mind. He said, 3 lines of code. There's a solution. The wallet scans the QR code. It decodes it. It reads the data. It looks for a string that says Pick n Pay. If the QR code has Pick n Pay in it, then Blink knows it's a Pick n Pay QR, Blink knows that Moneybadger processes Pick n Pay QR codes, and it just creates a pay code that is the QR data or the QR code at CryptoCure.net. CryptoCure.net is simply the Moneybadger payments API. And it literally blew my mind. I was like, that is the most genius thing I've ever heard. Because I've been trying to solve this problem for a year. And in a blink of an eye, you just solved it. And I cannot overstate how important this is. Because this piece of code can now be added to any Lightning wallet. Custodial, non-custodial, wallet of Satoshi, Strike. In fact, another wallet recently added this last week. By the way, all of this happened in the last month. And why was this possible? How were we able to solve the problem so elegantly? Oh, I wanted to mention one thing. This got posted to Reddit. The Reddit mods removed the post because they said this is spam. We've already seen people paying with Lightning at Pick n Pay. Nothing new here. And we were like, no, you don't understand. It's a small step for a Lightning wallet, but it's a massive leap for Lightning and Bitcoin adoption in South Africa, because what we've done here is we've eliminated the CryptoCure app. You can now, who's got a Blink wallet here in the audience? Okay, if you visit South Africa tomorrow, you walk into a Pick n Pay, you ask for the QR code, you scan it with your Blink wallet and you pay it. Guys, that's fucking magic, okay? And the only reason that's possible is because of the power of open source. Bitcoin is built on a foundation of freedom. It's built on a foundation of open source. A long history, decades of cryptographic principles needed to be in place first before Bitcoin could be built on top. The first money that's built on open source. But we had a problem. Like I said, transactions were slow, not quite useful for payments. So some other smart people built an open source solution on top of Bitcoin. Bit by bit by bit by bit, we're building something that's amazing. Top of Lightning URL, and then pay codes. So this whole pyramid needed to exist for you to be able to walk into Pick n Pay with your Lightning wallet and scan and pay directly. Open source is magic. Open source gives us the ability to collaborate on a global level. It's this unbeatable network effect of people collaborating and working together. And that is truly powerful. And that's how I know that we are unstoppable. But some other barriers to adoption also exist. And the most fundamental problem we have right now is the misunderstanding of the HODL model. Okay, I was at the Pupusa RIA last night in El Sante, and I met some people there, and they said, "Oh, Bitcoin, yes, yeah, we've got Bitcoin." I said, "Yeah, I'm paying for my pupusas with Bitcoin." They said, "We'll never do that. I'll never, ever, ever, ever spend my Bitcoin because the price is going to go up. So why would I spend it today if I can hold it and I can have more tomorrow?" But the HODL model, HODL never meant that you shouldn't spend your Bitcoin. If you go read the original post, it says, never sell your Bitcoin for fiat. So people are like, okay, I'll spend my dirty fiat, I'll buy some Bitcoin, and I'll HODL it forever. Guys, this is wrong. The Spedden model is the right model. You shouldn't have dirty fiat to spend. You should work, earn fiat, convert everything into Bitcoin, and then you're forced to spend your Bitcoin. And why is that important? Because you don't onboard a merchant by going to them and saying, "Oh, Bitcoin is amazing, Bitcoin is great." That's not the way. You go to a merchant and you tell them, there's 100, there's 1,000, there's 10,000 people spending Bitcoin at your competitor. Not at your store because you don't accept Bitcoin. The Spedden model is the way that we drive adoption and that we get more people onboarded. I'm going to show a darker slide now. So I know the tone changes a bit quickly. This is a second barrier to adoption, Bitcoin adoption in South Africa. So it seems like things are going well for us. We're building, we're establishing new circular economies. We're integrating with large merchants. We're getting hundreds and thousands of people spending Bitcoin in South Africa. Our numbers are growing. But there are rumors that our central bank is not so happy with all of this. There are rumors that our central bank wants to put limits in place that will prevent companies and organizations from self-custodying Bitcoin, and that will limit the amount that an individual may self-custody themselves. Now, you might say these are simply rumors, but I work in the industry and I can see the kind of things that's happening. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a very good chance that self-custody will come under fire in South Africa in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So what does that mean? It means that we need to build as a matter of urgency. We need to build today. We need to build critical mass. We need to set a high watermark so that when that tide comes and it tries to sweep away our freedoms, we need to say no. There's too many of us, and we're going to need your help. We're going to need the help of the world's Bitcoin communities to amplify our message, to help us think, and to support us when these things happen. And as for Money Badger and myself, I'd like to leave you here today with a promise. I promise that no matter what, we will keep fighting, we'll keep moving forward, and we'll keep building bit by bit, whatever it takes. Thank you.